טוב ומנעים שבר אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבר אחים גם יחד. Hello, Erev Tov, and good evening, everyone. It's Rabbi Gary here. Delighted to see you and have you with us. The day began in a very promising, very beautiful way when at 7:30 this morning, I joined members of Temple Beth Israel and Kihilat Nitzan in a very friendly, a very beautiful shacharit or morning service. And I'm going to be there each Wednesday, God willing, 7:30 till 8:05. 1, 2, 3. It's just wonderful. I hope that those of you who live in the area may wish to join along and be with us. I'm going to begin with this wish. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Yada ya bye yada ya bye yada bada bye 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 bye. Yada ya bye yada ya bye ya bye 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 bye. Ya bye bye bye. Ya die 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 die. Well, that should wake us up on a sleepy, cool, dark Wednesday evening. At this time, I'd like to invite you to turn in the Siddur, in our prayer book, to the very beginning, page 2, a very good place to start. We are called unto life, destiny uncertain, yet we offer thanks for what we know, for health and healing, for labor and repose, for renewal of beauty in earth and sky, for that blend of human, holy, which inspires compassion, and for hope, eternal, promising light. For life, for health, for hope, for beautiful, bountiful blessing. All praise to the source of being, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mekor Nefesh Kol Chai. On page 6, blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and who arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who brings on evening Baruch Atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. On page 8 in the Ivrit, Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chokim u'mishpatim, otanu limadata. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochbeinu u'v'kumenu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu v'orach yameinu, u'vahem nehege yomam v'layla. V'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto leolam va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'aderech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam la'ot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot beineinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visha'arecha l'ma'an tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem emet. On page 15, sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and for the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Mi chamocha boilim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'edar ba'kodesh, norati hilot osei fele. Malachutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze eli anu v'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar, ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, u'go'alo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Please forgive my reading the Mi Chamocha, which of course is not something we do normally, but I'm afraid I'm still suffering some from the remnants of the COVID virus, making it very difficult for me to sing. Why not just cut off my arm while you're there? To sing is to breathe, is to express joy. The night prayer, Hashkivenu, appears on page 18. Beautiful passage. Grant us, O God, that we may lie down in peace, and raise us up, O Sovereign, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against your enemies. illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our coming and going to life and to peace evermore. Baruch atah Adonai, shomer amo Yisrael la'ad. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yohumechon, uvechaye dechol beit Yisrael, bagala bagala, uvizman kariv, vaymeru amen, Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach, leolam ulamei almaya, Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh, v'yitalal shmei dekudesh abarichu, le'ela min kol birchata, v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran v'alama, v'yimeru, amen. My friends, please continue now for a few moments of silent prayer. If you are following in the Siddur, we turn now to pages 74 and 75 and proceed with the evening's Amidah, which takes us all the way page 100, can you imagine? Perhaps you may wish simply to select from among the Hebrew or English selections. Mechalkel chayim b'chesed, mechayim eitim b'rachamim rabim. Somech noflim v'rofech olim matiras rim mekayim. Slach lanu ki chatanu. Forgive us, for we have sinned. Pardon us, for we have transgressed. Shema kolenu Adonai Eloheinu kosrachenu. God of goodness, we are grateful for your many bounties, for the protecting care with which your love shelters us, for the knowledge that wherever we are in your presence. May your teachings enrich our lives and challenge us to give evidence of our devotion. May our words and our deeds hallow your name, making us worthy of your blessings. Baruch atah Adonai tov shimcha ulachana elehodot. Chevra, every time we round about and come to a Torah portion we last saw a full year ago, I do invariably find something new to report. Something that reveals something of the ethic, the values of the Jewish people, both ancient and modern. Perhaps you've had a chance to glance at Parashat Masa'eh, the last portion in Sefer Bamidbar, which we read from the synagogue's Bima this Shabbat. There, in chapter 35, it says, beginning in verse 11, "You shall appoint cities of refuge, and there shall flee the manslayer who kills any person through error. These cities shall be for refuge from the avenger until the slayer is brought to justice." We're told there are to be 6 cities of refuge, 3 in Eretz Yisrael and 3 on the east of the Jordan. But what is especially curious to me, and which I haven't taken note of in some time, is the notion developed in the rabbinic literature that says throughout Eretz Yisrael and east of the Jordan, there were once signs on every crossroad stating how far it was to the Arei Miklat, the cities of refuge, and exactly in which direction the Rotseach, the manslayer, should run. Now, what Rabbi Elias Schwartz points out in his book, Vishinantam, a collection of rabbinic teachings, he says, how often would it have been the case that there actually was a murder? How often did one kill another person inadvertently? How often did one have to, after all, run to a city of refuge, a miklat? That being the case, and the cities were nonetheless clearly identified through signs and directions, clearly marked. Now, compare that with something else. Rabbi Schwartz reminds us, 3 times a year, all of Israel would go to Yerushalayim, to Jerusalem, to fulfill the mitzvah of Ole Regel, of making pilgrimage. Yet, on the roads leading to Jerusalem, there were no signs showing the direction to the holy city. And why is this? Thousands upon thousands of Jews used these roads, not only 3 times a year, but also when going to the Beit HaMikdash, to the temple, to bring a sacrifice or offering. There being thousands of travelers, you might ask the question, why were there no signs leading to Jerusalem? Rabbi Schwartz volunteers an opinion which he feels depicts something of the deep thinking of the rabbis. A psychological point, if you will. He says one of the major problems today is what mass media writes and talks about. When's the last time you opened up a newspaper or watched the 6 o'clock news to discover a good story? It's always about one thing or another, killing or robbery, revolutions, all sorts of business. What the rabbis wanted to prevent, he goes on to suggest, is a situation where a rotseach, a manslayer, would come to the crossroads or come to a town and have to demand directions. That person might be asked to identify himself. The story might get out. I met a murderer today. And everyone would be discussing the incident. They would be talking, as we know, about nothing else. So what was the wisdom of this signage? So the murderer would speed silently through the day and through the night. No one would even know that that wrongdoer, the inadvertent murderer, the manslayer, had even come to the city of refuge, nor passed through their domain. On the other hand, when you're doing a mitzvah like making pilgrimage to the temple in ancient Israel, when you're taking your entire family, there were no directions on the road. How curious. Our rabbis did instead want you to stop and ask for directions, such that the one who you asked might come home that night and say, I met someone who was traveling to Jerusalem. I met someone who was going to serve God. The entire family would join in the discussion, and this is what the Rabbanim, the rabbis, wanted Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people, to talk about. Talk about service to God. Talk about doing a mitzvah. Talk about anything but the misfortune of the inadvertent murder. Speak about good deeds. Speak about the good things that are going on in the world. The Apter Rav said, the 6 cities are the 6 words in Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. This verse, which we recited tonight, calls for the faith of Israel in God. This faith shall serve as our refuge for all the problems that beset us daily and regularly. He concludes by saying, our miklat, our refuge, and our tikva, our hope, is in God. That, my friends, is my lesson tonight, and it comes from Vishinantam, a lovely old book that I've had in my library for some time, and you shall teach them, organized and written by Rabbi Elias Schwartz. Let's continue now with the Aleinu, which appears on page 586. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gohu raleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamelachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar, v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayomahu, yeh Adonai echad, ushemo echad. Kaddish is recited today on the 27th of July in memory of Abraham Chapman, Henka Pilchovsky, Lois Grigg, and Walter Lippmann. Are there other names that you'd like to have me recite at this time aloud? If so, please place them in the chat, and we'll say them at the conclusion of the Kaddish prayer. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'yamad divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen, Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata d'amiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehi Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Friends, that concludes our evening service together. I hope, Mirz Hashem, God willing, we'll see each other soon. I like to say we're open here at TBI weekends and holidays, and you're all most welcome. Keep a lookout on the horizon for the observance of Tisha B'Av, which will take place on Saturday evening, August the 6th at 7:30 p.m., hosted this year by our friends at Kihilat Nitzan at 36-40 Hawthorne Road. And just for something entirely different, perhaps you may wish to circle in your calendar the 13th of August, the next Saturday evening, when we'll be gathering for our first TBI jam session. I'm going to be at the keyboard. My friend Ito will be strumming his guitar, and there's going to be a wonderful time to be had by all. I hope to see you, many of you, there at Tisha B'Av on Shabbat, at the jam session, or somewhere soon. Stay warm. Erev Tov.